This is going to be video 1 of a topic I call developing balance. In this video, I'm going to define and discuss the concept behind the necessity of balance when applying the ICD parenting approach. In the second video, I'll go through a few practical examples of how I tried to develop that balance in my son. Happy, positive, confident, healthy, content, passionate. These are just some of the words that people often attribute to those among us that live good lives, mentally healthy lives. How do you raise your child so that the people in his life when he's an adult describe him with words like those? What can you do to develop balance in your child on their journey to becoming an ICD adult, an independent, confident, good decision maker? I believe the essence of that balance can be found in 3 strengths. Number 1, strength of mind, intellectual strength. Number 2, strength of body, physical strength. And number 3, strength of spirit, emotional strength. This is the 3-legged stool upon which you live your life. Live a good and healthy life. You know, a stool, a chair, but with only 3 legs. The more balanced these strengths, mind, body, spirit, the stronger the foundation and the more likely you are to live the life of an ICD adult. The concept of balance is used in many ways with all kinds of things. I believe balance is the core of a healthy, well-adjusted adult. Now, I'm going to describe what I mean by balance, and I'm going to use a few stereotypical examples of people you may have known in your life to help explain it. I'm confident you've known people in your life that perfectly fit these examples. I'm using examples of people you may have known in high school, and I'll start with some individuals that I would consider unbalanced. Now, I'm purposely using a few ridiculously simple stereotypes to make this point. Think back on your days as a high school student. Any chance you knew a dumb jock, a nasty cheerleader, or a nerd, as we used to say? I'm not even sure if they use that term anymore. I'll bet you knew at least 1 or 2 of these stereotypical individuals. Now let's start with the dumb jock. Probably big, one of the strongest in your school, throwing around weights like they were styrofoam. Big, strong, unfortunately stupid. Next, the classic nasty cheerleader. She could cleanly nail every handstand, backflip, or other gymnastic move. No one doubted her ability to smoothly, powerfully, professionally complete her moves. However, she was the proverbial mean girl that had the looks and the ability, but the temperament of a rattlesnake. Lastly, the nerd. It doesn't matter if it was a he or a she. They aced all their classes, but had the emotional intelligence, the social skills of a 7-year-old. The dumb jock, the nasty cheerleader were intellectually stunted. Their performance in the classroom was a fraction of their ability on their chosen field of play. Intellectually speaking, they were both third stringers. Both were unbalanced. The nerd, clearly his academic performance was way above par, but his social skills, his emotional balance, barely registered. This person was generally an emotional wreck. You probably know what I mean. Always stressed out about grades, freaking out about what a teacher thinks of them, worrying about do they have enough friends. Their social skills, their emotional strength, they really didn't have any. Now, are the above examples stereotypes? Absolutely. I knew many people that defied these stereotypes, but I'm trying to make a point about balance. My examples of the dumb jock and the nasty cheerleader, their main issue is the lack of balance intellectually speaking. On a scale of 1 to 10, their physical strength might be an 8 or a 9. A high rating, no one's going to argue with. But their intellectual and emotional strength, weak. Stereotypically speaking, both of those individuals might be a 3 or 4 on an intellectual scale. Again, measurement 1 to 10. And let's say a 5 in their emotional strength. Now, imagine those numbers as the length of each leg of a stool. Stool, 3 legs. This stool is balanced, it's sturdy, it's a good foundation to stand on. Now imagine that stool with these three as legs. That's unbalanced. This is not a strong and healthy foundation to build an ICD life. In my opinion, any person with the three unbalanced legs for their foundation, they're unlikely that they will become ICD adults because they're too unbalanced. In ICD parenting, the objective should be to raise a child with all three leg lengths being as long as possible, but more importantly, all three being a similar length. All of us have probably met a few people that are as decent as they are smart as they are strong. But that does not mean there were 8s or 9s across those three core strengths. I said they were as decent as they were strong as they were smart. Balance. I believe the person with leg lengths of a 5 for each of these core strengths is exponentially more likely to be an ICD adult than the person with three varying lengths of, say, 8, 2, and 5. The 8, 2, and 5 person, well, that adds up to a total of 15, just like the 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 15. Same total leg length, but for each of these stools, I think it's pretty clear which stool you would prefer standing on. Which stool provides a stronger foundation? I have personally met many 3 5s equal 15 people. These are the ones that are not overly intelligent, not all that physical strong, or necessarily possess a high degree of emotional intelligence, but there was a strength about them. The ones I knew had a calm, confident demeanor, thoughtful, inquisitive, respectful, hardworking, kind. I believe the 3 5s equal 15 person is infinitely more likely to have a positive, passion-filled, and successful life, however you define that. Much more so than the 8, 2, and 5 person. Again, the total leg lengths for each is the same. But how is it that the 3 by 5 person is going to be much more likely to become an ICD adult? How can that be? Isn't being smart the most important attribute anyone can possess? I don't think so. And the reason is synergy. Achieving balance in your core strengths is synergistic. The definition of synergy is the combined effect is greater than the sum of the separate parts. Basically, synergy is the concept that 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 4. Remember, I'm sticking with this hypothetical scale of 1 to 10 for each of the core strengths. So let's pretend that the theoretical perfect person is a 30, 10 intellectual, 10 physical, 10 emotional. How can a 3 by 6 person, 6 plus 6 plus 6 equal 18, ultimately result in a score of 30? It doesn't seem like the math adds up, but it does. In other words, the 5 plus 5 plus 5 doesn't equal 15, it equals 20 or more. 3 6s equal 18? No, it doesn't. Not in my math, and the reason again is synergy. If you picture a balanced stool versus one with drastically different leg lengths, the concept should make sense. It doesn't matter that one of your legs' intelligence is a 9. If the other legs of your stool are much shorter and of different lengths, your stool stinks. It's unbalanced, wobbly, unstable. I believe, what I'm trying to convince you to believe, is that in the long run, developing a balanced child is much more important than having an overly intelligent one. Google the curse of the valedictorian. You might find it interesting. The majority of us do not have overly intelligent children. My son is not overly intelligent, but he is balanced to a great degree. I'm hoping I've made my case regarding the value of a balanced stool, balanced core strengths. I've tried to explain this concept of balance in the 3 core strengths that are the foundations of that balance. In order to raise an ICD adult, you need to constantly be on the lookout for ways to develop your child's 3 legs, their 3 core strengths, in harmony. Most parents overemphasize the intellectual, pay little attention to the physical, and flat out ignore the emotional. You need to pay close attention to figuring out how to help your child develop her emotional strength, her emotional intelligence. Many people, including myself, consider emotional intelligence by far the most important of the 3 core strengths to developing an ICD adult. Do some research on your own about emotional intelligence. It's a too often ignored trait that has a huge impact on a person's happiness and success in life, however you define that. Now, I want to revisit my dumb jock, nasty cheerleader, and nerd examples for a second. I was fortunate to know shining examples of a jock, a cheerleader, and nerd. You may have as well. I'm talking about the beautiful head cheerleader that was smart as a whip, volunteered at the local soup kitchen, and always had a kind word for her classmates. Or the studly quarterback that made dean's lists every semester, was a tutor after school for middle school kids, and went to church on Sunday. And finally, the nerd that was actually well-grounded and super cool. Everyone loved him. Those are examples of the rare stool with 3 legs, each measuring 10 inches for a perfect 30. You'd be hard-pressed to find anyone that didn't approve of and respect the balance in the lives of those 3 people. What can you do to raise your child to have that kind of balance? How do you help your child develop a balance that will drastically increase the odds of them living an ICD life? You may be familiar with the phrase, play to your strengths. As a parent attempting to raise an ICD adult, it's actually the exact opposite. Focus on and develop your child's weaknesses to help them reach that balance. That will most likely lead to an ICD life. That's right. If your son or daughter turns out to be a great athlete, far too many parents would focus almost exclusively on that strength, ignoring the 2 others. That's a big mistake. I'm going to give you a number of specific practical things I did with my son to develop his balance in my second video on developing balance. Now, remember, raising an independent, confident, good decision maker isn't difficult, but it is exhausting. You can do it. Thanks for listening.